Jets cornerback DJ Reed taking some selfies with Jets fans here this morning at MetLife Stadium. The Detroit Lions in town. Both the Lions and the New York Jets desperate for a victory. There is a live shot of MetLife Stadium. Welcome into Pregame Central presented by Bud Light. Eric Allen here up on the MetLife stage with Anthony Beck, Quincy Enunwa, and Braylon Edwards. We have a fantastic show in store for you today because not only is Braylon in the house, but Thomas Jones is here as well. There is the man of the hour, Braylon, Zach Wilson, making the start for the Jets today. His 8th start in the 2022 season. Now, very interesting week. He started the week as the number 3 quarterback in Buffalo. On Monday, he was promoted to backup, and today he'll start against the Lions.
NFL comes at you fast. You got to always be ready. The good thing about it, man, I got a chance to go to practice on Friday, is when you win, it overcomes a lot of things. I think he has a great opportunity now with the Jets fighting for the playoff spot against the Detroit Lions are doing the same. If he has some success and he goes out there and shows that he can be what they drafted him to be, I guarantee a lot of his teammates will start to say, you know what, he is our teammate, let's rock and roll. So he has a chance to change the narrative a little bit here today.
What do you think, Anthony? After 3 starts for Mike White, he could not get clearance from Jets doctors for contact. So the Jets go back to Wilson here, the second-year signal caller, facing a Detroit Lions defense, bottom 3 in the National Football League in terms of yards allowed, points, and against the pass.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what have you learned in the last 3 weeks of ball? I think we talked about, coaching staff talked about getting his technique, his different things that he's trying to get back on track. Well, we know that's not going to happen in 3 weeks. Yeah. That's an off-season thing. That's a minor surgery when you're talking about getting rid of some of those things. And now it's like, what did you learn mentally? All right, what did you learn from Mike White, who did a fantastic job? Got the ball out of his hands. We talked about that. He can get the ball where it needs to be caught by the receivers. They can make plays. He understands his outlets. He didn't turn the ball over. All those things, we're asking Zach to do the same. And if he does that, and he's done that this year, it's not like it hasn't happened. Right. We've seen it in games throughout the season. He can be fine. He's got a smile on his face. There should be no pressure for him. Just go out there and have fun, play loose. He's been in a lot of big games, and this is a big game. Let's tell you, this is a playoff atmosphere. It should be a playoff atmosphere, and this is going to be something the Lions are going to bring. They're going to bring it now. This is a team they're built for this kind of level of play because the way their coach hammers them down, the way they fight, the way they punch, and they know they're in a great situation as well. So, again, he's going to have to take some shots today. He's going to have to move around, make some plays with his legs, and be accurate with the football.
Well, both these teams have playoff aspirations. The Jets sitting here at 7-6. They enter this ball game number 9 in the AFC. Because the tiebreakers go to the LA Chargers and the New England Patriots. On the other side of the spectrum, you have a red-hot Detroit Lions team that has won 5 out of 6, and they are the 9th seed in the NFC. Quincy, how is this offense going to look different with Wilson at the controls compared to White? The Jets moved the ball very well the last 3 weeks with the aforementioned Mike White starting quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious there's going to be a completely different offense. But if you look at the beginning, there's a reason why Zach Wilson was 5-2. They had a great running game. And they still have running backs now that can do those same things. Breece Hall might have went down, but Bam Knight is really carrying that load. You also have a few other backs behind him, Ty Johnson, James Robinson. The list goes on, right? Guys that can go out there and step up and make plays. So I think it's going to be important for those guys to continue to make plays today because you don't want to put the ball in Zach's hands for too long right now. He's still learning. He's still improving. With Mike White, the offense looked completely different. With Zach Wilson, it's more of an offense where you're going to have the run first and have those guys perform well.
Fans, here is your chance to participate in Pregame Central presented by Bud Light. Garrett Wilson, he's all about shattering records. Last week, it was a rookie yardage mark for the New York Jets. Today, will he get 4 receptions and break Wayne Corbett's rookie reception mark? You can vote right now. We will get to those results later in the show. Braylon, you came from Michigan. You know a lot what's going on with the Lions right now. Why has Dan Campbell's crew been able to turn the corner of late?
Crazy thing is I'm from Detroit, so my heart actually is a Detroit Lion, but you know where I'm really at. I'm a New York Jet through and through. Don't you ever make that mistake. I think he's got those guys that continue to buy in. You know, young guys continue to buy in. They see it differently than veterans. Young guys like, hey, look, man, we can do this. You start seeing some success. You start seeing what coaches are talking about. Hey, this does work. What Dan Campbell was talking about, we can do it. We can be that team. They've just stayed aggressive, and they play each game a game at a time. The locker room is where it's at. You watch that locker room, they believe in each other, they play for each other, they support each other, they go to each other's events and things like that. When you have that type of support against one another, you can overcome a lot of things. And I think they're starting to feel it on defense. Offensively, they've been there at the beginning of the season. They scored points off early on, but they just couldn't do anything on defense. Now on defense, they're getting stops. They're getting to the quarterback. Aiden Hutchinson is showing why he's number 2 overall. Kirby Joseph, third-round safety. He's coming up big. He's getting turnovers. They're playing together. This is a team. You got to score points to them early, because if you let them get going on defense, they start to feel it. They start to have that fire, and you'll look up, and the game will be over.
Anthony, interesting splits for Jared Goff so far this season. 22 touchdown passes. 2 of them have been on the road, and 4 of his 7 picks have actually been away from Detroit.
Well, in the elements today, obviously you got to do it with factors, wind, whatever that may be. Colder conditions. I mean, yeah, he's clearly been a better player at home, but this is kind of a crossroads for him as well. Here's a quarterback that you're trying to take that next step as an organization. Is he the guy? Is he not the guy? You know, the way he's led this football team the last couple of weeks, like Braylon said, it's been really impressive. 3 touchdowns last week, 330 yards. It was pretty much a perfect game. I think 39 passes, 30 runs, 136 yards rushing. I mean, that's exactly the Dan Campbell formula for this team. So right now they find themselves in a great position. And, you know, they're going to have to win out, just like most of these other teams do here that are packed into the middle of the bunch. But they feel good about it. They are 5 of 6. I mean, that's a heck of a run here. When you're starting down, I've been there. I'm 2-5 at the Jets back in 02 or 1. We came all the way back. I mean, it's a mental grind to do that. Just a strong-willed team like you talked about from the staff down.
Yeah. Q, fascinating matchup with the Jets cornerbacks again this week against a guy who is tearing it up in St. Brown for the Lions. Yeah. Big-time receiver.
Yeah, but not just St. Brown. You also have DJ Chark has been turning it on the last couple of weeks. 90-yard games the last couple of weeks. When you watch the film, he kind of jumps out. So it's going to be a challenge. You know, I think the past few weeks we've been saying Sauce Brown, DJ Reed are going to have challenges. I think it's a surprise this week, but these guys are actually going to give them a challenge. And with their quarterback, Goff really kind of has a command of this offense. He has a great running game, and then he's able to kind of pick it up and throw it to those guys and help them make plays for him.
Braylon, it has been rotating quarterbacks for the Jets throughout the season. Yeah. So they go to Zach Wilson today. I asked you about this last time you were here. What about Garrett Wilson? What he's been able to do considering the different signal callers he's played with?
It's so interesting. I was actually watching Garrett Wilson this season, and I just was like, damn, was I that good when I was a rookie? And the answer is no. The guy is electric. He's skillful. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's really, 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 really talented, man, from route running standpoint, from catching the ball outside with his hands, putting him, adjusting from the body. He's just really good. Like, he comes from Ohio State where he's played with a couple different quarterbacks. He just can make plays. He trusts himself. He trusts his skill level, and he works hard. When you watch him run routes, he's open. He creates separation. He catches the ball with his hands. He can catch in traffic. Saw that against Michigan Ohio State way too many times. Yeah. So watching him is going to be a lot of fun. I actually had a chance to talk to him on Friday, and I'm looking for him to come out here and get off. It's going to be fun watching him against Jeff Okudah, his former teammate.
Hey, Braylon, real quick. The dynamic of Campbell and Saleh, what do you think? Do both teams kind of reflect the way these guys approach the game?
100%. The Detroit Lions are a grit team, and that's what Coach Campbell preaches. And the good thing about it, Robert Saleh on the same team, he says, I'm keeping receipts. He's letting you know that was a big thing that got his team motivated. Like, yeah, Coach, we're about that too. We're keeping receipts as well. These two guys know each other. You know, last year they were at the Senior Bowl together. They didn't want to be back at the Senior Bowl this year, and they're proving that at the end of the season. It's going to be fun to watch, but both a lot of respect for each other, and both teams, their players really, really rock with them the long way. So it's going to be fun to watch these guys in the future, but today it's going to be electric.
He's a Detroit kid, but he's always a New York Jet. That's Braylon Edwards.
Yes,
let's hear it for Braylon Edwards right now.
Appreciate it.
Let's go inside the stadium and bring in Ethan Greenberg and Caroline Hendershot for Game Day Storylines presented by Bud Light. Caroline and Ethan, what about the dynamic here today with the 4 first-round picks on the field?
I actually think there's 5 first-round picks, EA. It is a stacked rookie class on both sides of the ball. Obviously, we know Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner really well. But what about the Lions side of the ball, Ethan?
Well, Braylon Edwards was just kind of talking about him. The number 2 overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson, 7 sacks on the season. That leads the team. That leads all rookies in what was a stacked defensive line class coming out. And with Hutchinson, Robert Saleh said, look, we did our homework on the guy, considering the Jets had the number 4 overall pick. And the Jets coaching staff thought that Aiden Hutchinson would be a perennial double-digit sack guy. He said maybe you don't always expect that from a rookie, but he's on the track to being that with 7 sacks. And then the number 12 overall pick, Jamison Williams. The Jets did their homework on him, too, because the Jets were in the receiver market. They end up going with Garrett Wilson. And Jamison Williams made his debut 2 weeks ago. He has 1 catch over the span of those 2 weeks. It was a 41-yard touchdown. The speed demon, as Robert Saleh called him, the Alabama product. If we're really coming full circle here, though, Jamison Williams, teammates with Garrett Wilson at Ohio State before Williams went to Alabama. And then Sauce Gardner, the Jets' 4th overall pick, played against Jamison Williams in the college football playoff when Gardner was at Cincinnati and Williams at Alabama.
Yeah, this is a very small football world we're working with. But, EA, I know you mentioned Garrett Wilson, for the fans all in or not today, maybe getting 4 receptions and breaking Wayne Krabet's rookie record, but he is so close to 1,000 receiving yards as a rookie, and that would be the first Jets rookie in franchise history to do so. So over these next 4 games, I think that's a big number to monitor.
Me about the 5 first-round picks. Jermaine Johnson, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Aiden Hutchinson, Jamison Williams, who got on the scoreboard last week with the touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, guys, let's talk injuries. We've been talking most of the week about the quarterback position with the New York Jets. No clearance for Mike White, so Zach Wilson, of course, getting the start. But another high-profile New York Jet is 50-50. What can you tell us about not only Quinnen Williams, but Corey Davis?
Yeah, at the start of the show, actually, Adam Schefter tweeted out that Quinnen Williams, who was listed as questionable, is actually going to be out for today's game. So I think that's a big thing for the Jets defense and obviously the Lions offense. He didn't practice all week, so it was really a game-time decision, but as Adam Schefter reported, he's going to be out for today's matchup.
Well, just going off of what you said, Robert Saleh did say that even though Quinnen Williams was not a participant in practice Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, still a chance for any defensive lineman to not practice 3 days in a row and then play on Sunday. But you mentioned Corey Davis, EA. That's a big loss for the Jets. It seemed like when you're listening to Robert Saleh talk that Corey Davis would have been cleared. He thought that he was in a good space. He thought Corey Davis was making the proper, taking the right steps to seeing his return to the field, but that's not the case. I will say another injury, a late addition to the injury report, kind of under the radar. LaMarcus Joyner was listed as questionable yesterday with a hip injury, and that could shake some things up, especially when you consider the speed on the outside that the Lions have with Jamison Williams, with DJ Shark. And if Joyner cannot go for whatever reason, you're probably looking at Will Parks, who was released and re-signed to the practice squad and then elevated for today's game, Ashton Davis or Tony Adams.
Good stuff from you both. Maybe Ashton Davis in the starting lineup for the Jets today. We'll have to see. LaMarcus Joyner questionable. Adam Schefter tweets that Quinnen Williams a no-go for the New York Jets today. Hopefully the Jets can get him back in the lineup Thursday night. Short week. The Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence will be here at MetLife Stadium as the Jets conclude the regular season home schedule. You are watching Pregame Central presented by Bud Light. We have an unbelievable show in store for you today. We already had Braylon Edwards. We went to Game Day Storylines with Ethan and Caroline. We got Anthony Beck. We got Quincy Anunwa. And now let's welcome in Thomas Jones.
Yes, sir.
TJ, it has been too long. How are you doing, and how is California Dreaming treating you?
Man, it has been too long, man. Everything is great, man. You know, I'm excited to be back here. Love New York City, love the New York Jets, love my time here. It's a little colder than Hollywood, but, it's great to be back.
All right, so what projects are you working on right now, and how can people follow your career? Because I'm looking on social media all the time to see what Thomas Q. Jones is up to.
Yeah, you can actually follow me on my social media pages, Thomas Q. Jones. And, I have a lot of projects. I started acting and producing, once I retired in 2012. And I have my own TV series that I executive produced with Cedric the Entertainer. It's called Johnson. It's on Bounce TV. I have a docu-series, actually, that I just produced with Neo Studios and my production company, Midnight Train Productions, that's on Amazon right now, Prime. It's called Life After. It follows 12 NFL players and some of the struggles that some guys have when they retire. I had some struggles when I retired. It was hard for me to disconnect from the game. So that's available now, along with multiple TV series and other feature films that I'm producing.
When did you decide you were going to go in that direction post-playing career?
Fairly quickly.
Yeah?
I retired and I was lost. It was like football was my life. It was meant so much to me for so long that I didn't really have anything that I loved as much as football, that I was as passionate about as football. And so I was introduced to a small little project with the opportunity to be a producer and then take a small role. And I did it and I really enjoyed it. And so I decided to take it serious. And, 10 years later now, I'm a working actor producer. So it's been great.
Straight out of Compton. How cool of an experience was that? And was that kind of a breakthrough for you in those circles?
Yeah, it was great. At that time when we shot that in 2014, I was pretty green. I didn't really know much about acting or Hollywood. So I was fortunate enough to book the role, even though it was a small role. It was significant to the storyline, and it kind of randomly popped up. But it was an opportunity to work with F. Gary Gray, incredible director. Work with some of the incredible actors, work with Ice Cube. And then that led me to Luke Cage, on Marvel's Luke Cage on Netflix, which was really a breakthrough opportunity for me to work with Theo Rossi and Alfred Woodard in a Marvel TV series. So, yeah, straight out of Compton, man. It's funny, people walk up to me all the time and say my lines from straight out. They know my lines better than I do.
You are listening to the voice of Thomas Jones, former Jets running back, of course. It is the Jets in the Detroit Lions this afternoon at MetLife Stadium. TJ, how much do you enjoy acting, and how much do you enjoy actually the role of producing?
I think I enjoy both equally. Hollywood's a very tough business. It's very competitive, similar to football in a lot of ways. There's a lot of competition, a lot of talented people. So you really have to work hard and be disciplined, to create opportunities or give yourself the best chance for opportunities. So what I do like about producing is that, I can create my own content and then I can act in my own content. So I think at this point in my career, about 8 to 10 years in, producing is moving towards the forefront because now I'm able to play the characters in my projects and help bring the story to life.
Well, Anthony Beck was smiling ear to ear when he saw you today, yelling out the class of 2000, huh?
Yeah, well, it's only social media we can connect, but I'm so proud of Thomas because we were actually together in Kansas City. We had our lockers, a couple old guys in the locker room, me, you, Kelly, strategically placed, watch over the young bucks. But I just want to say, man, it's a tribute of your success. You talked about that journey when you were done. It's a clear message that regardless of how successful you are as a player, it's a tough jump to reality because we do only know one thing. I mean, we know more than that, and it takes us time. But the fact you've been able to do it, I love the fact that the docuseries is coming out. Is it on right now on the Amazon?
Yeah, it's on. It's available right now on Prime. You can go to Prime right now, and it's called Life After. There's some incredible, very intimate stories there. One of the episodes is on my journey from retiring from the NFL. DeMarcus Ware is one of the players.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Spice Adams, Myron Rolle, who's now a brain surgeon.
Yep.
There's some really incredible stories. So me and Anthony, we go back to the rookie premiere in Orlando.
Man. I still got them cards. I was going to bring a card. There were some now.
Yeah.
The one bad part was Brady wasn't invited to that one, so we missed the biggest bad card.
I know, we missed Brady.
TJ, what was your experience like with the Jets, and what's it like now coming back as we see everybody congregate towards the stage and say, hey, Thomas Jones is here. I remember watching him in 08 and 09 just barreling into the end zone constantly.
Right. Man, it was one of the best times of my life, playing in New York City for the Jets, and then being able to win, being able to, ignite the city, getting into the playoffs, all the way to the AFC Championship game, and then being able to, rush for 1,000 yards all 3 seasons and be able to contribute, man. It's a huge part of my life. I'm very proud of my time here. I had 1 year left. I did not want to leave. So everybody knows. The NFL obviously is business first, but I was a little sad that I had to leave. But listen, I had some great memories. The Jets fans are some of the best fans in the NFL. They always support me on social media. They've supported my career as an actor as well, and I appreciate and love all of you. So I'm just glad to be back, man, and just feel the energy in the stadium.
You rushed for 10,000 yards in your NFL career. An amazing career. What was the 2009 season like for you?
Man, it was incredible. It was up and down, but it was the epitome of what an NFL season is. You had highs, you had lows. I think at one point, Coach Ryan, Rex was like, "We're out of the playoffs."
Yeah, after the Atlanta loss.
Damn, we out of the playoffs, man. And he comes back next week like, "No, we're still in the playoffs." I'm like, "What? We still in the playoffs?" So we snuck in. 8-8, snuck in as the 6th seed, and was able to get into playoffs, and then went on a nice run there. We were a half away from the Super Bowl. And it just goes to show how hard it is to get there. But, that season was one of the best season for me statistically it was. And then, just the camaraderie that I had with my teammates, the defense, offensive line, we're friends for life. I'm still connected to all those guys. So 2009 was definitely arguably my best season in the NFL.
So we're up here on stage, and we got Quincy Enunwa and Thomas Jones, 2 of the best sets of guns out there. TJ.
I think you got me.
Fridays, I remember in the weight room, there used to be on the whiteboard, it said TV arms.
Yes.
Do you remember those days on Friday?
Oh, yeah. TV arms, man. You got to get ready for Sunday. We had a whole arms team, and I was a proud founder of that group. Because every Friday, Saturday, we'd be in there and we're doing triceps, biceps, because we got to look good on TV, man. So, but also to help me hold on to the ball. I didn't have that many fumbles. So, besides, having arms that look good on trading cards, I was able to hold on to the ball.
So I talked to Bart Scott about that recently. He said, a lot of guys, they need a rest day. But Thomas would just work through the soreness. You go 7 days a week, man.
Yeah, I would work. Even Saturdays, Saturday I'll be in the gym. I wouldn't do heavy legs, but I would do maybe some quick hang cleans, and I would do bis and tris. And, I was just a workhorse and a workaholic, and I just loved the game. And I was just excited, about the opportunity on Sundays to go out and perform. And, I don't know. And that's why I had a little bit of a struggle disconnected from the game when I retired.
Thomas, so great seeing you. Don't be a stranger, and we got to have you on the podcast too. Fans,
sure.
Let's hear it for Thomas Jones. And now let's get back to the stadium. Here's Caroline Hendershot with a special guest.
Thanks, EA. I'm joined by Joel Sanchez and Dr. Benjamin Van Boxtel out of the Atlantic Health's Aortic Center. Now, Joel, you had a rare and probably very scary complex heart surgery. I want you to explain to everyone what led you to the Morristown Medical Center.
I had a bad bout with COVID, and I started feeling a shortness of breath on everything I was doing with the fire department. I'm a volunteer firefighter in Rockaway Township, and I also I work walking around all day, and I started feeling shortness of breath, so I went to my VA doctor.
U.S. Army veteran?
Yes. Very important.
So I went to my VA doctor, and she found like a little heart, like my heart wasn't sounding the way it was prior to one appointment that I had. And then she said, I'm going to send you to a special cardiologist. I went to the VA in East Orange, and from East Orange, the cardiologist said, I have to send you to someone more special and more. That's how I met my doctor, Van Boxtel.
Now, Dr. Van Boxtel, when you met Joel, what were his options, and how did you know that you would end up doing the Ross procedure? And what is the Ross procedure for those of us who don't know?
Sure. So when Joel came to me, he had a very bad heart valve, as he said. His aortic valve was barely opening. So all the blood that his heart was trying to pump through the rest of his body was having a really hard time getting out. So and any patient who has that kind of problem, we have a couple options. We can put in a valve that's made out of kind of like a metal valve that requires you to be on blood thinners for the rest of your life. So for most patients in the United States would probably get that option because Joel came to me, he was in his 40s. But that would mean we're committing Joel, a healthy firefighter, U.S. Army veteran. He's got teenage kids at home. He's a very active lifestyle. We don't want him to be on blood thinners.
Right.
Falls and bumps his head, falls and hurts himself. That could be life-threatening bleeding. So that option I did not want to pursue with Joel because of how active he was. The other option is we can put in a tissue valve. That's made from either a pig valve or part of the cow heart. And those valves don't necessarily require blood thinners, but they don't last that long.
Okay.
And in someone like Joel, I mean, I've seen them last as little as 3 to 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
I would say the average is maybe closer to 8 to 10. But then it's like Joel and I got to get together every 10 years for open heart surgery. And as much as I like the guy, I wanted to give him a one-shot fix. The other option, and this is, it was popular back when Dr. Ross created it back in the day, and it's made sort of a renaissance as we've sort of figured out different ways to do it. The data has gotten a lot better, and there are a few of us who offer the procedure. And it's much more complex than those other two options. Even though those options involve opening the chest, open heart surgery, taking the old valve out and putting one of those new valves in, this is much more involved. And it's not for everybody, but Joel came to me knowing something about it and said, I want, I think you told me, I never shy away from taking the toughest option if it's the best one.
It's the best
and
one.
I love that.
That's exactly what this is. So in this operation, we take out a different valve from a different part of the heart that's working perfectly well, and we move it over. We take the old valve out first, take the other valve, and it's like musical chairs for the valves.
Okay.
So we take that pulmonic valve out, we put it in the aortic valve, and then we take a pulmonic valve from a cadaver and put it back in the pulmonic valve. So it's like take one out, switch one over, put a new one in the other side. The reason that works is because the one you're putting in the other side, it's much more low demand, low pressures.
Okay.
So that valve can last a really, really long time. Now, Joel's a young guy, so he may need something done to that other valve in his lifetime, but it likely won't be a bigger open heart surgery or two of them like we spoke about.
Right.
It also could be a one-time fix that'll last him forever. So now he's got his own tissue in his aortic valve, came from him, stayed in him, and then the one that we replaced is, I wouldn't call it less important, but it's lower pressure and it can take more of a beating long term. So that's the Ross procedure in a nutshell. There's some, it's a technically challenging operation, but that's essentially what it is.
Joel, what would you like people to take away from your experience in this whole probably very scary, alarming situation that you had to go through?
Always make your family first and don't make the decision by yourself. This was a family decision. This was because my wife and my 2 kids are young. I'm young. So I took this chance I want everybody to do something for their family. I didn't think about myself. I thought about my family first. So that's why I took the Ross procedure, because I want to be there for them.
And Dr. Van Boxtel, what would you want people to take away from his experience, both from your end and his end?
Well, one of the things that we'd like to do is raise awareness that there is this procedure out there that may be a very good option for, people under 60, but especially the people like Joel in their 40s, especially people who are active and live very active lifestyles. This is the only operation that after about 20 years restores normal survival to that patient's life. So 20 years after having another valve, you could see a survival decrease, which is a scary thing to think about. So Joel, of course, he's got this major problem in front of him. He's got to get the valve fixed. So any of those 3 options, he would have been feeling better. But this is the only option where in 20 years he can think, I'm on the same, I'm going to live the same healthy life that I would have if I never had this problem in the first place, which is really important. So, raising awareness about that, our center at Morristown Medical Center, the Aortic Center, we do a lot of, we raise a lot of awareness and do a lot of complex surgeries. Aortic aneurysms have just been in the news, as we all know, the sad passing of Grant Wall. So, we have to, we have a lot of tools to combat aneurysm disease of the aorta, and raising awareness is also very important for us.
What an incredible story. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I got one last question for both of you. Who do you got today in today's matchup?
I got the Jets by 7.
Oh, I love it. What about you, Doc?
I got the Jets too, and I have to say also Argentina.
I love it. All right, EA, back to you.
This morning, Jets head coach Robert Saleh, his staff, and Charlotte Knapp ran the stairs for former Jets coach Greg Knapp. Napper passed away on July 22nd, 2021 at the age of 58 after being struck by a driver while riding his bicycle. In his honor, Charlotte started the Coach Knapp Memorial Fund to educate drivers on the dangers of distracted driving and help reduce the number of distracted driving-related deaths. For more information or to donate, visit www.knappmemorial.org. We are rolling on here. Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. Eric Allen, Anthony Beck, Quincy Anunwa here at the MetLife Stage. We have Caroline and Ethan inside the stadium. Let's take a look at our leaderboard for All In or Not Today right now. Are we going to see it? Oh, Quincy Anunwa. Does he already have home field advantage here, Anthony?
Guys, it's not over.
I've clinched the playoff berth.
It's not over, guys. It's not over.
All right, well, listen, the fans are doing a nice job at 7-6. Ethan there at 6-7. He's got some company, and then Caroline, not too shabby, 4-9. We're waiting for a little late season run, right, Caroline?
Right. 4-9 is pretty ugly, but someone's got to hold up the rear, as I said last week.
I told Caroline earlier this week I was like 0 for 10 last year before I got my first win. So she's doing a much better job than I did last year. But last year is last year, this year's this year, and I'm still reeling.
All right, let's start with Caroline. The Lions have scored at least 25 points in their last 5 games. Caroline, here's your question. The Lions will be held to under 24 points today against a tough Jets defense.
Listen, I got nothing to lose. I'm all in on this one. I know Big Q is out for today, but I just have a lot of faith in our defense. They've been really, really consistent week to week, even on the games that they don't have their best quote-unquote performances. I think the defense is still really, really solid, so I'm going to go all in. And once again, got nothing to lose, so why not?
All right, good luck to you today,
Thank you.
Caroline. Ethan, Jared Goff will throw for 2 touchdown passes or more. Are you all in or not today? He's going to be facing that Jets secondary featuring 2 Pro Bowlers, I think, in Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed.
I'm going not today. I think Jared Goff will be held to under 2 touchdown passes. You mentioned the split. 20 touchdowns at home, 2 on the road. That would mean he would need to double that today against a very good secondary and a good Jets defense. Also, I just want to take out my phone to pull out the stat because I don't want to butcher this. Jared Goff in 4 games, in 35 degrees or colder, 1 touchdown, 5 turnovers. So I think that bodes well for me in terms of all in or not today, and I'm not today on that one.
Hey, what's the temperature right now inside the stadium?
Well, that's a great question. I thought you were going to ask that. Feels like 30. We'll go with that.
Very good. Nice job, both of you. Quincy Anunwa, you are the leader. You are the 1 seed, 11-2 so far this season. The Jets will have at least 2 takeaways.
I'm going all in, and I'm glad that Ethan just gave me that stat because I believe it even more. With Quinnen being out, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. You're not going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback, which kind of helps those interceptions. But I think it might be fumble and interception. So I don't know how we're going to go, but since I'm in the front, I'm taking this chance on this Jets defense.
I love it. Anthony, you like to think of yourself as our number 1 seed, but you're not. Lions running back Jamal Williams will not have a rush touchdown. He's got 14 rush touchdowns this season.
I'm all in today on that one. A lot of backs at their disposal. You never know how it's going to go down today. I think the Jets defense can keep it tight around the goal line. So I'm going to ride out there and go all in.
Okay. Mine is the Jets will have a better red zone conversion percentage than the Lions. I'm going to say not today just because I do think the Jets are going to hold serve at home, but that's a very balanced offensive attack that the Lions will bring here to MetLife Stadium today. Let's check in on the fan vote. Garrett Wilson will have 4+ receptions and break Wayne Corbett's rookie reception mark overwhelmingly. Fans vote yes. That's 92%. What do you think about that, Anthony?
Yeah, listen, Wayne is a beast, but this kid is a different level, man, and he's just got confidence and he's got swag. He knows he can do it, and I expect even bigger finish for him. It's not done. Those numbers are going to be hard to break moving forward.
Okay, real quick, before we get to enact, is must win for the Jets today at 7-6?
1,000%. Yeah, it's got to happen. Playoffs, for sure, yeah.
Definitely.
Both teams need this one, both the Jets and the Lions. Here are today's inactives: Mike White, Corey Davis, James Robinson, Jeremy Ruckert, Brandon Echols, LaMarcus Joyner, who showed up on the injury report on Saturday with a hip ailment. He is out, and there is the big one. Quinnen Williams, inactive for the New York Jets. Can the Jets get back to their winning ways today at MetLife Stadium? They need it. We're going to soon find out because they're facing one of the hottest teams in the National Football League in the Detroit Lions. Thank you all for watching, and make sure you tune in to Jets Overtime after the game.